Today is December, Monday the 23rd. It's now a rest day. We've wrapped our film block for this year, and we're looking forward to heading back for next year. It's been an interesting set of days. In particular, we've covered a lot of territory. So I thought I'd give you an update on how things are going with the filming of the feature film, The Portal. This is Videoblog number 2. First of all, the camera report. One of the things a cinematographer has to do is to give a list of how the camera systems performed and what was done. So we had 7 shooting days in the past 2 weeks. We had a few days of prep, we had a couple of rest days, but 7 actual shooting days. We call them day 1 through day 7. On each day we shoot a number of reels. Each reel in this case is an SD media card, which stores around 64 gig. Typically the camera I'm using will store around 50-55 gig maximum per card before we need to change it to the next reel. So in the 7 shooting days we shot 915 gigabytes of footage, which corresponds to around 318 minutes of footage. So how did that all come about? Well, we went to several locations. Our first location was a place called the Dream Forest. This was shooting day for night, which means that we were shooting during the day, and in post we'll make it appear to be nighttime. One of the characteristics of shooting day for night is that you need to do certain things. You use a neutral density filter on the lens. Of course you can stop down, but that affects your depth of field, so it's better to use an ND filter. In post you add some blue. You use grading to control some of the highlights, and yeah, typically you just try to pretend that it's nighttime. Then the next location that we shot on day 2 was called the Pines. It's an absolutely gorgeous location high up in the hills above Port of Spain. The Pines has a cabin there which is quite gorgeous. It's a very romantic destination and quite cool, a chance to get away from the heat of the day. So we were there for a whole day. Interesting challenge was getting vehicles up the hill because it was an extremely steep hill. Day 3 we shot mostly evening shots, a lot of secondary shots of things like cars passing, some time lapse, that sort of thing. We then made our night for night shoot. So we rested up, and then on day 4 we spent from 4 p.m. until 4 a.m. at the Coco Lounge last week. Coco Lounge is one of the premier nightclubs here in Trinidad. We had a lot of fun. We used a smoke machine extensively to give us the atmosphere. We put the lights in lots of different places, as well as making use of the club's existing lights, which added some really interesting visual flavor. And we got some excellent coverage for that location. So Coco Lounge was great. Then we took a day off. When you're turning a crew around from night shooting to day shooting, you always want to have a day buffer, because you don't want to go straight from a day shoot to a night shoot or vice versa. So we took a day off, and then we did some green screen work, mostly shooting plates and material for the visual effects that are going to be in this movie. Day 6 and day 7 we then went to some apartments which we dressed up as 2 locations. One is the bedroom of one of the characters, and the other is a hotel room with a confrontation between our heroine and her old advisor. So that was day 6 and day 7, which brings us to today. After day 7 we then did bag and tag. We wrapped all the production. That means taking all the costumes, all the props, documenting everything that was done, wrapping them, labeling them so that they could easily be found. Of course we have lots of pictures for continuity. Avril, our assistant director did a great job in putting together all of the DPRs, the daily reports of activity, as what scenes had been shot and so on. We also had some good work from our script supervisor, who did excellent work on tracking that side of things. So there's a lot of paperwork around film. It's surprising the amount of paperwork that has to be covered. There were a few logistical challenges for sure. One of them especially is the amount of work that has to be done just getting around. Camera performance. The camera performed extremely well. We decided, in consultation with the director, to use the BlackMagic Pocket Cinema Camera. This is a very interesting camera. It has a high definition sensor, which is 1080p, that's 1280 by 1080. And it shoots with 12-bit raw video, which means that we have a lot of data stored. So that gives us tremendous flexibility in post. It's not the world's sharpest camera in terms of resolution for something like, for instance, a 4K camera, but that's not the look that we were going for. We wanted something that was more of a Super 16 sensibility, and I think the BlackMagic Pocket fills that admirably. Furthermore, we made the decision that we would use or shoot directly anamorphic. Many people who want the 23:9 or similar aspect ratio, 2.35, will take a standard high definition and then crop it. I felt that it would be good for us to actually shoot with anamorphic adapters. So we used the Panasonic LA7200 anamorphic adapter, which was originally designed for adapting from a 4:3 to a 16:9 aspect ratio. And when you're using it on a high definition 16:9 sensor, it allows us to give an effective 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio, which gives us that real large scale feature film feel. Lighting was something that we tried to do in camera wherever we could, rather than just deciding or trying to do too much in post. Our excellent gaffer Jeremy Peel did a great job in lighting all of the scenes. Occasionally we didn't have the opportunity to use separate lights for power reasons, so we'd use reflectors and capture some sunlight. Filming in a feature film is something that just takes a lot of people. When you're working with a full production, this is a very small indie production here in Trinidad, and we're working with a footprint that is a crew footprint of around 25 people, almost all of whom have really important jobs, and if one of them isn't doing their job, nothing happens. Fortunately, this team, despite it consisting largely of very inexperienced students, they stepped up to the plate and they've done an excellent job in coming together to make this film happen. We had a very high work rate, surprisingly, and we were still able to maintain the quality we wanted. There were one or two hiccups, and I think a few people learned a lot, but that's really the whole reason we're doing this. The Digital Film Institute, under the leadership of Garland Holder here in Trinidad, is working hard to put in place appropriate educational opportunities for people who want to get into the film business here in the West Indies. And this film is really the culmination of that for 2013 and again in 2014. On the lighter side, a film army like that just doesn't run on empty. I think it was Napoleon who said an army marches on its stomach. Unfortunately, we were very well looked after on the catering side. I learned a new dietary delicacy here in Trinidad, something called the double. It's like a pancake, a savory pancake with beans and vegetables and very nice spices wrapped together, and it's very messy to eat, but it's a lot of fun and quite tasty. And of course, lime. Lime is one of the key words here in Trinidad. It's not just the green-shaped lemon thing. It is what you do when you party, and there's a lot of opportunities for that here. Well, that brings me to the end of this blog number 2. We've completed 7 days of the 28 days that are planned. We're now working on detailed planning to start filming again in January, and I look forward to telling you more about it in video blog number 3. So thank you very much for listening.